Hello, everybody.
Steph, I don't want to start with anything hugely tricky to answer, but just knowing that there's still fluctuation in this roster, knowing that we don't know when or if Jonathan's going to be coming in, just what's the mentality? What you talk amongst yourselves, like, hey, here's how we have to deal with this right now, or is it so natural that you have to have those discussions amongst yourselves?
No, we talk about it for sure. As the leaders on the team, you got to acknowledge what's going on. Don't make it more than what it is, other than a team trying to figure out the situation that's in front of us and the challenge that's in front of us. Knowing JK's situation, knowing the new faces that we're adding to the roster, like we talk about it every year going into a training camp of what it's going to take for that particular team to win. This is a little different just because you have a guy that's trying to figure out his situation, and we respect that process, and it's going to play out. And when he's here, ready to work, like we expect him to be locked in on doing what he needs to do to help us win. So all those things you acknowledge, and you look forward to doing what we do as players and going out there and hooping. Like that's what it always boils down to, no matter how you get there.
Hey, Steph. Good seeing you again. Tell me, in the offseason, you went to a couple of Valkyries games. What was that like as far as getting to see the fans in a different perspective? And I think you mentioned even yourself that you guys normally are the base team, but now you have a sister team to root on.
It was awesome. I think they probably surprised a lot of people with the way that they played and the level that they were winning and making the playoffs in the first year. But the vibe and the atmosphere in here was awesome. I was traveling a little bit more than I thought, so I didn't get to as many games as I wanted to. But it was such an exciting experience from the whole family. It was definitely a different vibe than normal Chase Center that we're used to when we play, and that's a great thing. The summertime energy with a different product out there on the floor was great. So hopefully they are going to kick it up another notch next summer.
Were you able to adjust at all to the different kind of environment, given kind of that energy that they brought?
No, I think it's exactly how it's designed, which is perfect.
Steph, good to see you.
What's up, Nick? How you doing?
Good. When you have talked to Jonathan recently, what's the message you're trying to get across to him?
Negotiations are hard. We all know that. The idea of everybody's situation is a little different. Everybody can come up with whatever narrative they want to. It's how business kind of goes. Some things are pretty straightforward. Some things aren't. This is definitely in the aren't conversation or category. But when he comes and he's here, he should be a professional and do exactly what he expects to do and take advantage of his opportunities to help us win. Like everybody who's in the locker room, that's what you're committed to do. And so I don't have any concerns that he'll approach it that way, and that's what we expect.
Steph, you're approaching a decade since your unanimous MVP season, and you're still playing at a very high level. How have you been able to evolve your game to sustain that level of production?
Just the work you put in, the love of the game, being around great people in this organization, and still keeping winning as the priority. And I'm blessed to still hopefully be in that situation for a couple more years.
Steph, how you doing?
I'm great, Ron. How you doing?
Good, thanks. This is your 17th year. I think you've said many times 16 was the goal because of your dad. What's the significance of that to you? And kind of piggybacking on the previous question, how has your off-season conditioning evolved as you've gotten into your mid and now sort of late 30s? I read something about it's more data-driven. How have you sort of changed the way you prepare for seasons?
The second question I answered first, just because it's evolved based on trying to be more efficient with the work that you get in and more intentional about how each day is kind of designed on court, off court. Probably the first decade was more on court than off court, and that's actually flipped now, where it's probably 60-40 off court to on court percentage now, and even that is, like you said, data driven on heart rate stuff, foot strikes, how long you're on your feet, like all those type of things that help monitor the output that you have over the summer, so that you're working smarter and coming into camp fresh, knowing that there's still a little bit of building to go. That's what training camp's for, but that I'm in pretty good shape where you're not putting your body through any type of unnecessary stress with that transition from off season to in season. And that's been fun to kind of try to figure out on the fly.
And one unrelated question, Jimmy being here from the start of training camp, obviously a much different scenario than what happened last year. Obviously that helps you guys. In what ways does it help? How significant can that be to have him right from the start?
I think first it helps him just as a human being, as a player, to have something that he knows, a situation he knows, based on how last year ended, how we do things, what he can help and continue to help us do at a high level, but then just have that clarity coming in where we can have the conversations that we were having, in a very short span after the trade last year. And it's, the way that we finished playing, or our record towards the end of the year, it was fun for all of us. So to kind of carry that momentum into a training camp, I think he's talked about just how happy he is to be in a space where he can just play basketball and there's not any noise around him. I think that's refreshing for him, and then that should carry over to our prep as a team.
Are you comfortable with how the roster, I guess I'll say, is going to look, and the process to get there?
I think with this last little piece that needs to settle, I think I'm extremely happy with a different look. We're just trying to carry the momentum that we had from last year. Understanding getting through an 82-game season is the challenge for every team, but especially a veteran team. But the way that we finished and the record that we had, and obviously before I got hurt during the second round, like we were a relevant threat, and I think we've gotten better. It's tough to lose Loon, like that was a big deal, knowing what he meant to our franchise. But we have a lot of pieces that are going to have an opportunity to take that next step. And like every NBA season, I said the same thing last year, probably at the podium right here. We started 12-3, and then all hell broke loose for a good couple months. So like you can only do what you can to control just your mentality going into the year. And I think it's really optimistic and positive around here, and that's how it should be.
I know you mentioned, once Kuminga gets here, you expect him to be kind of locked in, but this has obviously already been a big offseason distraction. There's almost an inevitability it's going to bleed into once he gets back. How concerned are you just, about the overall distraction of the situation?
I don't frame it like that. I think he's going to get asked questions. To your point, you're asking questions. Everybody's going to ask questions about it, but what happens when I leave this microphone and we go in the locker room and us players talk, like, that's going to be the make or break of how we kind of move into the year with the right frame of mind. So the good news is you've been around long enough. Me, Draymond, Jimmy, we've all been around long enough to know how to separate the business of it to the basketball of it. And those are two totally different areas. So our job is to focus on the basketball part and not let it become something that gets in the way of how we approach every day.
With that said, how unique of an offseason has this been? Like, just that whole situation. I'm sure you've been through many a teammates trying to get paid, but I don't think we've ever been in anything like this. Does this feel like a unique situation?
I think everything we do around here is unique, for sure. So it kind of adds to that journey. Us being realistically championship relevant for this long is unique. Us trying to maintain that for as long as we have is unique, and JK's situation is unique. Me being in my position where I'm at in my stage of my career is unique. Like, the whole deal is just, it's you got to take the good with the chaos as well of it, because it is kind of unprecedented. So keeps me going, because it keeps everything, kind of front and center on trying to, again, focus on winning. Like, and we've done a really good job of that over the years, and want to keep doing it.
Some of us have talked a lot about like the age of the top guys. Mostly Nick Friedel brings it up, but especially with how last year ended, how cognizant or worried are you about you guys having to play a really heavy load to get to the postseason and then do the postseason thing? Is this something that you have to manage or pay attention to, considering you guys are Nick Friedel's age?
You gotta pay attention to it for sure. Acknowledge what makes your team, what character it has to obviously play. Have the expectation that we're gonna be capable of beating everybody and anybody on any given night. But to your point, the endurance of 82. I think last year the biggest thing was we don't want to be in a position where you're chasing down the stretch of the season. Like, if you could at all be in control of that, where the last 2 months, even though we had a great record, it felt like every game was a playoff game for 2 straight months, and then you transition into a very tough 7-game series, and then you're 48 hours from a round 2, game 1. Like, it was a very condensed, high level of basketball. And so we want to be able to try to get through the 82 with a little bit more of a ability to kind of control the ebbs and flows of it. How we get there, like, we'll figure it out.
Hello, Stephen. So this summer, it's your first time bringing the Curry camp to China, and there are a lot of young players from Korea, Japan, and China. And what potential you saw on those young kids?
More than like specific potential of specific kids, just the idea of basketball at a high level around the world is continuing to grow. The skill level is, and the excitement around the game is really special, and I was happy to kind of experience that in Chongqing this year, and have something that I've done here in the States for a very long time with the Curry camp and bring it over there. So basketball's at an all-time high, not only from an awareness and fandom perspective, but from kids who are playing and really taking it seriously and working on their game. So it's great to see.
Steph, hey, in terms of your off-season, you talked about the high-level, condensed high-level basketball you played. How long did it take for the frustration of the way it ended to kind of go away for you? And also, how was this off-season? Last summer, you played a lot of very intense basketball. Was this a more rejuvenating or relaxing off-season after that disappointment?
I don't think I'm over that disappointment, because you always wonder, what if, like, had I not gotten hurt, had we won one more game in that second round and give me a chance to come back, had we not been chasing the last 2 months. Like, you always, as a player, you always think about that type of stuff. So it motivates you to understand what you can do this year to put yourself in a better position. So I think I'm still carrying that, which is, I think, healthy and a good thing. And this summer it's always chaos around my schedule and all that, but it was really fun and rejuvenating to be able to work in your game, do the stuff that I want to do and need to do off the court. I have 4 kids running around, so it's crazy. And just enjoying myself, but also looking forward to today and this new year, because I know I don't have many more in front of me in that respect. So I'm excited to give everything I got to what's in front of me this year.
To go back to the idea of separating basketball and business, that is like something that's pretty relevant to Jonathan right now. When his agent comes out and says, if we get the contract we want, we'll be committed to doing everything we can to win a championship. What is your reaction to something like that and the idea of like conditional commitment?
I only listen to my teammate. I don't listen to agents or anybody who's speaking on behalf. Like, I hear that from JK.
What have you heard from JK?
And he'll be committed when he gets here. I just know from man to man, he didn't want to have to be in the way of anything. So let that situation play out. He can speak for himself.